President Mahama's government begins to take shape as he names more appointees to key government positions. Tonight, we analyze the expectation of Ghanaians.
Government begins evacuation and distribution of stored food items to all public secondary schools.
Fisheries Commission confirms samples of fish with strange skin infections in the Lembele district of the Western region have been taken to the lab for testing.
In business this evening, Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana urges Minister of Food and Agriculture nominee to advocate for more budgetary allocation for the sector.
And elsewhere on the continent, a court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has sentenced 3 Chinese nationals to 7 years in prison for engaging in illegal mining. We've got details of all these stories, plus many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on your DSTV channel 279. You can join us with your views, comments, and suggestions on any of our top stories this hour. Feel free to visit any of our social media pages on Facebook and on X. Let's begin with our very first story, and President John Dramani Mahama has made new appointments to 3 more regions and another batch of appointments to 9 key ministries, including Education and Food and Agriculture ministers designate. Nominations have been made for the Western, Central and Western North regions. Now, let's take you through the list. So we've got Minister Designate to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, Kwame Agboja. Kwame governs Agboja. He was one of the leaders in the Minority Caucus, which has now transitioned to the Majority Caucus. And so he's going to the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Haruna Idrisu, who's Minister of Education nominee. Haruna Idrisu, we know, occupied some cabinet positions in the past. He was minority leader before that position was taken over by Castle Atufos, and he's been nominated for the Ministry of Education. We've also got Agnes Na Momo Latte, who's been nominated for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Jifa Gomashi, Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts Ministry, that's where she's been nominated for. We know she also served as Deputy Minister in the erstwhile John Mahama administration between 2012 and 2016. George Opari Ado, Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, that's where he's been nominated to. Elizabeth Ofoswe-Jari, Trade, Agribusiness and Industry Ministry. She also used to be Deputy Minister between 2012 and 2016. For the local government, chieftaincy and religious affairs ministries, we've got Ahmed Ibrahim. He's been nominated for that position. Eric Opoku, Food and Agric Ministry. He's been ranking member of the minority side with regards to Food and Agric. Now he's been nominated for that ministry. Emilia Arthur to the Fisheries and Aquaculture Ministry. And then for the remainder of the regions, we've got Eduamwa Ochri. He's been nominated for the Central Region. Joseph Nelson for the Western Region. And Wilbert Petty Braintomb, he's been nominated for the Western North Region. So, President John Dramani Mahama has made it emphatically clear that he's not going to go beyond 60 ministers, or if you like, 60 ministries. So far, he's made 25 appointments with 35 more pending. So 25 appointments with 35 more pending. So far, we know that we've got 23 ministries. 12 out of the 23 have been appointed. You recall that some would call it a consolidation or a trimming down from 30 to 23. He's done 12 out of the 23, so we've got 11 outstanding ministries right now. And what are the ministries outstanding? We've got Health Ministry, we've got Defense Ministry, the Interior, Foreign Affairs, Transport Ministry, Sports and Recreation, Lands and Natural Resources, Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation. We've got the Environment, Science and Technology Ministry, Works and Housing and Water Resources, Labor, Jobs and Employment Ministry. So just count them, 11 outstanding ministries. With regards to the regional ministers, we know we've got 16 regions, and he's made 13 out of the 16 regions with 3 outstanding. So we've got the Bono region, Bono East, and the Upper West region. These are the outstanding ministries.
Meanwhile, Nagrat and Tewu have lauded the competence of the Minister of Education designate Haruna Idrisu, hoping that he will resolve the problems facing Ghana's education sector. Leadership of the 2 unions have asked the sector minister designate to be swift in beginning a review of the free senior high school policy, addressing salaries of teachers and implementing their conditions of service. They spoke exclusively with our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Bawku here in Accra.
President John Dramani Mahama has nominated the Member of Parliament for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, as the Minister Designate for Education. His appointment has generated satisfaction among the rank and file of the leadership of the teacher unions. President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, Eric Kabonu, underscored the competence of the Minister Designate. He called on the Education Minister Designate to begin a stakeholder engagement on the Free Teachers program.
So how to handle CHAS, how to handle parents, how to handle the unions, the teachers, and then of course conditions of service of teachers at all levels, from kindergarten to the universities. As we speak, there are issues of CITAG that is still hanging, resolution not yet found.
The General Secretary of the Teachers and Education Workers Union, Tewu, King James Azotiba, appealed to the Minister Designate to address issues facing Tewu in the education sector.
For our long expired conditions of service to be signed for the Ghana Education Service, the public universities, the technical universities, the museums and monuments boards, the Ghana Library Authority, and among other issues. We also have a lot of other university council representation issues that people are doing some illegal things.
Both unions entreated the sector minister designate to resolve their grievances on their conditions of service.
Teachers' salaries, the problem with Ghana Education Service, which is one of the biggest services in this country, mechanization, automation, digitalization within the Ghana Education Service, the problems to do with people's salaries not being paid, people's salaries being in abeyance. Look, Haruna is capable, and I will want to give Haruna the support.
It's just a matter of sitting with our various managements and then confirming this. In fact, we had virtually concluded everything. We just needed mandate from the Minister of Finance to conclude. And I believe Honorable Haruna Idrisu and the Honorable Atufosin, these are smart young guys, experienced people, and they know what is agency and what will bring peace.
Well, tonight we'll focus on the agriculture sector and explore some challenges that the sector has been faced with. We'll bring that to you right now. In the year 2024, the total budget allocation for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture was 3.3 billion cedis. And these are some of the challenges that was confronting the sector. Cocoa production dropped from 1.1 million tons in 2021 to about 400,000 tons. There was heavy reliance on rainfall. Also, there was less than 5% of small-scale farmers who had access to credit facilities. Also, Ghana's land tenure system discourages investments, according to the farmers as well. There were poor storage and transportation systems, 30 to 50% post-harvest losses for crops like maize, tomatoes, and cassava as well. There were poor road networks and weak market access. The fertilizers and seeds mostly were imported. And so these were some of the challenges that farmers were confronting in the agri sector. So let's go on to Zoom now, where we have Dr. Charles Nyaba. He is a former executive director for the Peasant Farmers Association. Dr. Nyaba, good evening, and thank you for joining us on News 360. Hello, Doc. Sure, Doc, we can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Absolutely. Good evening to you. But first of all, let's take on your thoughts on what you make of Eric Opoku's nomination to head the Food and Agri Ministry.
Thanks so much. When the news came, I think we have our farmers platform where we always pick information from members concerning issues like this. I think majority of our members who had opportunity of engaging Eric Opoku were very happy. They think he's a farmer himself. He understands their constraints. In our meeting with him in Parliament concerning the scrapping of the waivers on agro inputs, fertilizers, farm mechanization, I think Eric Opoku was very strong in supporting our stance. The issue of poor implementation of the One Village, One Dam, the poor implementation of portable multipurpose dam, he supported us strongly. He was on our side. When we were making campaign for Ghana over dependence on importation of all kinds of inputs for production, I think he was strongly on our part. I'm also told he led the development of the NDC manifesto, which has to do with promoting mechanization, promoting the youth in agriculture, promoting modernization of agriculture, and then also setting up farmer service centers. So when his name was mentioned, I think we were not surprised. We just hope that when he's approved, he will walk the talk. He wouldn't say one thing and then go to do another thing. So we congratulate him for this nomination, and we hope that he will go through the vetting. After that, we will also try to engage him to lay out some of the constraints that the farmers are facing.
Doc, let's also talk about what the minister-designate should focus on. We know that as peasant farmers, you have a heavy reliance on rainfall. But what do you think the incoming minister can do to actualize irrigation across the country?
I think the incoming minister, he doesn't have time to rest at all. He just have to go into action. We can do all the things. If the agriculture sector fails, we all feel the pinch. And you know that in 2023 and 2024, our leadership did not really help us that much. Brian came, we all supported him. We developed a policy that's planting for food and job phase 2. When it came to the implementation, he deviated from all what we all agreed on. Using aggregators to give farmers input credit, that never happened. Even the fertilizer that came, most farmers were surprised to hear that most of the fertilizers were still stored in some areas and they were never released to farmers. The drought that hit the farmers, there was a lot of talk to the extent that 8 billion Ghana cedis was supposed to be released to support the victims. Many farmers, majority, over 90%, have not received anything. So we think that Eric Opoku has a lot to do in coming up with strategies that will help to reduce cost of production. One of the major constraints which consumers are feeling right now has to do with high cost of food. And this happened because in 2024, almost all the factors of production more than double. If you take fertilizer, prices more than double. If you take seeds, the same thing. Total services, the same thing. Investment in irrigation has been very poor. You know, Ghana, our irrigation facilities or irrigation dams are less than 3% of irrigable lands in the country. So when the drought hit, we didn't have alternative to produce than for us to just depend on the rainfall. So we think that he would engage all of us to go back and reassess the One Village, One Dam. What went wrong? To see whether they will allocate money to do the correction. One other thing that we will continue to engage him has to do with the portable multipurpose dam, where $12 million were allocated for the initial work and nothing has been done. That dam alone has potential to provide over 40% of vegetables and fruit for off-season consumption. But because we fail to pay attention, it's still something that we don't know what is going on. So we hope he's going to pay attention to that. But the immediate thing he needs to do is to engage stakeholders for us to lay to him the constraints that we are facing, and together we'll be able to develop a policy for immediate implementation.
Right, Doc. Thank you so much for your time this evening. It's a pleasure having you on News 360. Dr. Charles Naba is a former executive director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. This is News 360. Let's move on to some more stories this evening. An audit of the revenue collection of the Electricity Company of Ghana has reported a discrepancy of 490 million cedis between the period under review, which is October to December 2023. The report by PricewaterhouseCoopers Ghana Limited and shared by the Public Utility Regulatory Commission disclosed, among other things, that ECG used unprotected Excel models for financial data, risking data integrity. It also noted that ECG had over 80 bank accounts in which it used to make collections, but used only 14 of them. The auditors recommended that ECG transition from unprotected spreadsheets to cloud-based platforms for transparency and efficiency. The company was asked to consolidate ECG's bank accounts for streamlined revenue collection, as well as enhanced cybersecurity and reconcile metering systems to centralized data management and others. Pa, you have some details to give us on these. There are some findings you have.
Right, Aisha. So just a bit of more details regarding the PwC report on the ECG, and it talks about discrepancies of some 567 million cedis underdeclared between the cash waterfall mechanism and the ECG cash settlement platform. It goes further to talk about other discrepancies, which include over 600 million cedis underdeclared between the cash waterfall mechanism and ECG's revenue collection sheet. Again, some 1.14 billion cedis underdeclared between the cash waterfall mechanism and validated bank collections. More to the PwC report that was conducted. It again talks about some 15.72 million cedis discrepancy in non-tariff revenue collections. Again, a little over 47 million cedis was paid to ECG vendors, and the cash waterfall mechanism guidelines were also not followed. Again, there's about a little over 118 million cedis discrepancy between the declared and the actual fuel payment. And then some 127 million cedi variance in debit notes issued to the independent power producers. It talks about some 500 million cedis also of credit notes that were issued affecting beneficiary payments. The report, Aisha, as you rightly indicated in your introduction, also talked about ECG operating over 80 accounts and not adhering to the single collection account guideline as part of the International Monetary Fund requirement. It goes also to talk about untimely payments and the fact that multiple instances of delayed payments to the independent power producers and regulatory bodies, including some 352 million cedis in October 2023. So these are just excerpts of that report that was conducted by PricewaterhouseCoopers regarding the operations of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Already we've had the former managing director, Dubik Mahama, speak to a lot of these issues, and he's been defending issues about under-declaration. And one of the most interesting things he said, for instance, was the fact that there was nothing illegal about under-declarations. And it was put straight to him that, listen, as part of the cash waterfall mechanism, there are strict guidelines as to how the Electricity Company of Ghana should distribute the amounts that it collects. Unfortunately, it appears that was not adhered to. So in the coming days, I'm sure a lot more will come out of this very interesting report by the PwC, Aisha.
Definitely, Pa. Thank you very much for that. Moving away, Chairman of the Appointments Committee of Parliament and First Deputy Speaker Bernard Ahiafor has been reacting to comments from the minority in Parliament accusing him of bias and partisanship. He told Kemini Amano in a yet-to-be-aired interview on hot issues that he has always acted in the best interest of Ghana and not for the party.
How do you feel about the Efutu MP, Alexander Apenyo-Makin, his conduct on that day?
Well, I'm not to comment on anybody's conduct. I will again leave that one for the general public.
There are those who think that he disrespected you or was disrespectful of you.
Well, that is their judgment and they are entitled to it.
Do you think he was disrespectful of your authority?
That is their judgment and they are entitled to it. You see, whatever you do, the general public is watching everything. So they've seen it all. So sometimes you allow them to form their own opinion. And they are entitled to their own opinion.
He seems to have frustrated you at some point.
Well, I wasn't frustrated. I wasn't frustrated. Bernard Ahiafor, sitting before you, is a man with indomitable spirit. So I will not consider that to be a frustration.
So at the point when you were, we heard you, speak on top of your voice, practically screaming. What was it that was pushing you?
When you are given an opportunity or you are given a right to exercise, you don't abuse it. At a point, I felt that the opportunity given him to ask questions without limitation was being abused.
A reminder, if you just tuned in, you're watching News 360, our major news bulletin for the day. We're streaming live on Facebook, also live on your DSTV channel 279. Now, unidentified gunmen have attacked a cargo truck in Misiga in the Bawku municipality of the Upper East region. Security sources said the vehicle was moving from the Kulungugu border to the Bawku town under military escort when it was attacked. There were no casualties. The latest attack comes barely 2 days after President John Dramani Mahama led a high-powered government delegation to hold peace negotiations with the Bawku Naba and the Nayiri as part of efforts to find a lasting solution to the chieftaincy conflict. The conflict, since its resurgence last year, has left more than 40 people dead and several maimed. Properties running into several millions of Ghana cedis have also been destroyed. Castro Senyala, our reporter in the Upper East region, who's continued to monitor the situation in Bawku, joins us live with further details on this latest attack. Castro, thank you for your time. You've been speaking to security sources since this latest attack. Have you been able to gather exactly what could have caused this?
Parkway, I have indeed been speaking with sources in both the military and then the police, but as to what has led to today's attack, they have still to tell me what exactly happened. But what we understand is that the security agencies, that is the military, which usually does the escorts of civilians in and out of Bawku when it's necessary, were doing the same thing as they do every time when the gunmen who are yet to be identified or arrested open fire somewhere in the Miska community within the Bawku municipality.
We understand from the reports that there have been no casualties, quite apart from those who have been maimed. Is there any latest information coming out of this?
Not at all. There has not been any reports of casualty in today's attack, but then Parkway, the concerns continue to increase as to how the security agencies are handling the patrols within the Bawku municipality and also on the highways, particularly the Bolgatanga Bawku highway, that of the Bolgatanga Walwale Nasia highway. Calls are that, and in fact concerns are that a lot more needs to be done as far as protecting civilians, and by saying that meaning innocent civilians who continue to ply these highways to go about their activities, trading activities, so that they are not scared or it doesn't affect their livelihoods whatsoever. But the security agencies who I continue to engage, though wouldn't provide details of whatever they are doing in Bawku or on the highways, continue to maintain that they are doing well. The conflict has taken a different dimension where when an attack happens on the Bolgatanga Bawku highway, another one would happen on the Bawku Walwale Nasia highway. And they are working extra hard to ensure that they are able to contain the situation whenever it has happened. They maintain that a lot more men have been put on these highways to ensure that, some of these things do not happen anytime soon or are curtailed once and for all.
Castro Senyala, our man on the ground, immense appreciation to you.
Let's now take you to the Ashanti region, where police have commenced investigation to arrest perpetrators involved in the shooting and cause for death of an ex-chief at Kokobeng in the Etrima Nwabieja North District. Nana Okofrubuo Boateng was found dead with multiple gunshots on him some meters away from his house at Kokobeng News site on Wednesday evening, January 15.
The deceased is said to have been attacked by unknown assailants whilst returning home from work. Family and friends suspect contract killing, claiming that Nana Boateng had survived similar attack last year, though the suspects remain unidentified. The unfortunate incident has come as a shock to residents, instilling fear and panic among members of the Kokobeng community. It is still not clear what may have triggered the shooting and killing of Nana Boateng, but the Bushan District Police Command have begun investigation to unravel the mystery. The body has since been deposited at a morgue for autopsy.
Government has started the evacuation and distribution of stored food items from warehouses to affected schools across the country. Nearly 140,000 bags of rice are being transported to all public senior high schools to address food shortages as government begins decentralization of the supplies. My colleague Christian Yale has the rest of the story.
President John Dramani Mahama, during his address at the National Thanksgiving Service, directed the Chief of Staff and the Ghana Education Service to release the stored food items to schools. It was in the wake of dire constraints caused by food shortages in schools.
It was necessary to provide immediate intervention in terms of food to our wards in the various secondary schools across the country. It's because of complaints we received directly and indirectly through CHAS that not sufficient provision had been made by the previous Akufo-Addo Bawumia-led MPP government in terms of feeding our students currently in school. More definite plans are put in place to provide funding directly to the heads of the institutions for them to procure all that is needed to feed our wards.
A government delegation on Thursday toured some warehouses to facilitate the evacuation of the food items. Some 139,872 bags of rice are ready for supply to affected schools. The food items will be sent to the 54 zonal food distribution centers across the country for onward delivery to schools.
This is the first phase of what we expect will take about a week because the country is vast and we expect to distribute 139,872 bags of rice to the 16 regions for onward distribution to all the secondary schools which need the rice. It is going to be a fulfillment of John Dramani Mahama's promise to decentralize the food distributory arrangements as far as the secondary schools are concerned.
About 300 bags of rice have been loaded in these two military trucks behind me for distribution in the Greater Accra region alone. That is for today. From tomorrow onwards, the other distributions would happen for the rest of the 15 regions with the schools affected with this food shortage. We understand that there is going to be security escort throughout the process to ensure that these food items arrive safely in the various destinations.
This is a directive from the President It is being led by the Chief of Staff and the Flagstaff House with representation from Parliament, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Agric, the Ghana Education Service, and the Ghana TV services. So let no one accost any truck or think that this is food items being smuggled. In fact, there's going to be security escorts.
For the next 1 month, this initial step is expected to ensure food sufficiency in senior high as well as TVET schools.
And our residents of Kangbunli, reeling from the devastation of the Ibi River, are calling for support while they await the results of the investigation into the cause of the strange fish disease. The community's economy, which revolves around the river, has come to a halt. Irama Smith has more.
It is a bittersweet feeling for the residents of Kangbunli following the intervention now by the necessary authorities to try to investigate exactly what is happening to the Ebi River, such that fish caught from the river is not normal. You will recall that we carried a story where fish from the Ebi River had lesions, which actually later resulted in gaping wounds, the river giving off a stench, and so many other things that is making life very unbearable for the residents. We understand that on Wednesday, officials from the Food and Drugs Authority and the Fisheries Commission, as well as other bodies, went into the community to take samples of the water and fish for investigations. We are also made to understand that those who have some of the fish in their possession, because some were saying that they had stored some in their refrigerators, waiting for whatever results come before they take the next action. They've been asked to bury these fishes and should totally stay away from the river. Shaibu Isaka is a former assemblyman for the area.
The advice they give to the people, especially the fisherfolk, that nobody should consume any of the fishes that will be harvested. And any fish that has the symptoms on it, they suggested that it should be buried.
Perhaps the bigger blow to their economy is the fact that they should stay away from the river Ebi, because all their livelihood revolves around the river. You know, Kangbunli is a tomato farming community, and this river is what they use for their farming activities. They've been asked to stay away. They also do fish farming in the river. They've been asked to stay away. There's also an Apeteshi brewing center quite close to the river. All of these have been affected apart from their daily activities. So now it's like they're just there waiting and hoping.
Majority were of the view that once you are directing that they should look to it, at least they should have come with some consent so that they will use it as a sort of support.
It is their urgent plea that the investigations will be expedited so that work will return to normalcy in the Kangbunli community. Irama Smith, TV3 News, Kangbunli.
Meanwhile, the Director of Fisheries at the Fisheries Commission, Fred Kwesi Entry-Bwedu, says the Commission has taken samples of the mysterious fish skin infection discovered at Kangbunli in the Lembele district of the Western region to the laboratory for testing.
Speaking to TV3, the Director of Fisheries at the Fisheries Commission, Fred Kwesi Entry-Bwedu, noted that they are awaiting the outcome of the laboratory test results after samples were collected. He added that the final testing will be conducted on Tuesday.
The samples are being worked on at the lab, and one out of the two is ready. And by Tuesday, the interpretation will be done. And we are hoping that the second one will also be ready around the same time. Then we will now make it public. But let me also say that we will wait till Ghana Standard Authority and Water Research Institute is also ready with their report, so that we'll have one report for the public.
Traditional authorities have imposed a temporary ban on all fishing activities on the Fia, Ibe, and Amazule rivers to facilitate a thorough investigation by the relevant stakeholders, ensuring the safety and well-being of the community.
President John Dramani Mahama has expressed worry about the growing insurgency in the sub-region in the Sahel that has endangered lives of its citizens. At a media briefing during a visit by the Malian Prime Minister, General Abdoulaye Maiga, John Mahama is calling for close collaboration between African countries to fight the canker.
We live in present day and we recognize the relationships that we have and how we must work closer together. We note what is happening in the geopolitics of our sub-region and the unfortunate situation that is unfolding in the Sahel. It is not anything that is new, but it continues to become more grave than it was in the past. And I'm talking about the issue of insurgency and terrorism. And as I told Mr. Prime Minister, in Ghana we have a proverb that if your neighbor's house is on fire, you must assist him to quench it. Otherwise, it will, when it finishes burning down his house, it will spread to yours. And so our security is a common objective, and we must work with each other to make sure that our sub-region is safe. We have noted the sovereign decisions of not only Mali, but Burkina Faso and Niger to form a separate confederation. But despite that, God put us together in this sub-region for a purpose. And so we continue to intermarry, we continue to trade, we continue to have relationships that go beyond our individual countries. And so we must recognize those. And despite the temporary setback that we're facing, we must continue to keep our relationships strong. And I believe that eventually we'll be able to integrate ourselves again as one body.
Starting from bounds Mali, Guinea, Mali, and Ghana.
Nous sommes convaincus que
We are convinced
nos deux chefs d'État ont l'opportunité de renforcer les liens de coopération
that our two leaders have the way to enforce the cooperation
dans le domaine économique,
in economical matters,
dans le domaine sécuritaire.
and then security.
Et nous saluons l'esprit de fraternité et de solidarité de son Excellence le Président John Dramani Mahama.
Salute His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Également lui rassurer du fait que le combat pour le panafricanisme aujourd'hui est
To
poursuivi
ensure as we are combating for the Pan-Africanism
par son Excellence le général d'armée Assimi Goïta, président du Mali.
This is News 360. We'll take a breather.
Of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo Paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo Paint, simply superior.
Whenever you fly to space or take your first step as baby, Soft Care always stays with you.
New Soft Care Space Series is rooted from space technology. Keeps you dry and comfortable for 12 hours long. Offers you the most effective protection during your space journey.
Soft Care. Protect your leap.
Hey, my head really aches. Feeling cold and feverish.
Ah, sorry. I know the solution to your problem. It is Procode.
Procode? I bought some 3 days ago, but I'm not seeing any improvement. You can even have a look.
Let me look at it. Ah, this is fake. Let's go to the drugstore. Please, we want Procode. No, not this.
Oh, but this does the same work, and it's even far cheaper.
No, we insist you give us Procode from Kojak. I don't understand why people give this fake Procode. And where they don't give the fake one, then they give you a similar one with a different name and tell you it works the same. But it is not so. The only pro code we know is from Kojak. If it's not pro code from Kojak, then we won't accept it.
Wow. So this is the original Proco. It has the logo and Kojak boldly written on it.
Yes, for quick and effective relief from headache, flu, nasal congestion and other feverish conditions, insist on Procode from Kojak.
Procode, K-O-J-A-C-H. Procode.
This advert is FDA approved.
Looking for a bank to rely on. Let me give you a shoulder to lie on. Would we say to bank be pray no lie? Only one place where I get my eye on. Make I introduce you all to First Bank, the best services in the world, first rank. Customer service, everything is well planned. I make music, I travel, I sell land. They be my reserve tank. Cause every time I know my money's safe. Universal banking ain't in me here on the date. I'm a busy person, me no need time to wait. Now I got to Spain, even when I'm in the States. My me blue shirt. They tell me office a chilly, but who cares? Cause I bank with the best. I'm lucky, I'm too blessed. When it comes to First Bank, it's too west. Everything is you first. Woo!
Nobody feed do I'm like us. Do I'm like us. First Bank we treat you first. Treat you first. Somebody seek up yeah. Think about you first. Think about you first.
You first. First Bank.
A business segment is brought to you by MTN.
West Hills Ridge Property, Eden Heights.
Hello, good evening. It's time now for some business on News 360. My name is Menu Afol. Now, the Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana is urging Minister of Food and Agriculture nominee Eric Opoku to push for increased budgetary allocation for the ministry. According to the Chamber's Chief Executive, Farmer Anthony Morrison, Ghana's agricultural sector faces numerous challenges, primarily due to inadequate funding.
The Chamber of Agribusiness Ghana welcomes Eric Opoku's appointment and assures him of their support in achieving President John Dramani Mahamat's vision for agriculture-driven economic transformation and the 24-hour economy program. However, they emphasize the need for more budgetary allocation to facilitate growth and drive development.
If approved by Parliament, Honorable Eric Opoku will be coming into an industry where we have existing challenges with our horticulture sector. We have existing challenges with our aquaculture sector. We have existing challenges with our poultry and grains sector. And we continue to have challenges with regards to drought. We are expecting that collectively we will support him to lobby more funding from government budgetary allocation.
The Chamber also wants the minister nominee to develop a comprehensive national agriculture information management system to help track the sector's progress in real time.
We need to make sure that our agriculture sector data are clean, validated and verified, that when we are using it to develop a 5-year strategic plan or a 7-year strategic medium-term plan, we are actually not setting the plan already to fail. Because if you have an outdated data and going to use that same data to develop a project for the next 5 years, the fact that the data itself you are using is outdated, your project is already set to completely fail. And that is why our agriculture sector projects have not been able to materialize.
Finance Minister nominee Dr. Kaisel Atoforsin has been urged to prioritize entrepreneurial support schemes for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, to address youth unemployment in the country. Chief Executive of Go Compliance Solutions, James Ofori, believes that SMEs hold the potential to create more job opportunities in the country.
Finance Minister nominee Dr. Kaisel Atoforsin is expected to outline his plans to stabilize the economy and support key sectors when confirmed by Parliament. Speaking to 3 Business, Chief Executive of Health, Safety, Security, Environment and Quality Consulting Company, Go Compliance Solutions, James Ofori stressed the need for targeted interventions such as funding access, tax reliefs, among others, to enable SMEs to thrive in the current economic climate.
The issue of unemployment shouldn't be something that we should be discussing over and over. It will be a thing of the past. So we hope for good policies and then good entrepreneurial support schemes to boom, to grow the local industries.
James Ofori also made a case for SMEs to obtain standard certification in order to scale up.
Currently, we are already doing ISO certification campaigns for some local businesses. So when you want to get certified, there are a number of things that you'll be required to do or fulfill based on the requirement. And some of them, they are tailored to streamline the operations of the business.
Away from that, financial analyst Joe Jackson has cautioned the government to exercise prudence in its decision to abolish certain taxes. He advocated for the retention of the betting tax, describing it as a disincentive tax that helps to regulate the betting industry. Joe Jackson emphasized the importance of striking a balance between revenue mobilization and tax scrapping.
There are issues to do with it. It's like a tax on cigarettes or a tax on alcohol. I don't think we should take out the betting tax, right? I think the betting tax should stay. Anything that will make people bet less, that will stop destroying the lives of our young women and increasingly some young men and increasingly some young women is a good thing. I think the betting tax should stay. The taxes on the ports, they have to look at them carefully. They can't go away. They should stay. We should be strategic about how we apply it. Certain taxes may have to be removed, but certain taxes on luxury items, etc., must stay because they help bring us the volume of revenue that we require. As we're taking all these taxes away, remember again, it is one public purse, and we can't have our cake and eat it.
On our 14 lucky winners have walked away with exciting prizes during the 3rd draw of Petrosol's ongoing Energizing Dreams promo at Atabaze near Elmina in the Central Region. The Energizing Dreams promo is part of Petrosol's efforts to express gratitude and reward loyal customers for their support over the past decade.
At Atabaze near Elmina, in the Central Region, the 3rd draw of the Energizing Dreams promo brought joy to 14 lucky winners. They won exciting prizes including a tricycle, motorcycle, fridge, smart TV, mobile phone, and fuel coupons. Retail sales manager of Petrosol, Kelvin Odro-Nyako, noted that the promo is part of the company's efforts to reward loyal customers.
We saw it needful for us to reward customers for partnering us for the past 10 years. And so we are giving out at least 2 of our customers must get cars. We are adding fridges, motorbikes, tricycles, mobile phones, microwaves, and other additional ones, fans, power banks, and the rest, for having held us and believed in our brand for the past 10 years.
The lubricants marketing and communications manager, Makedu Boateng, emphasized the company's commitment to empowering its customers.
So the truth is that if someone decides to do things like this, sometimes you might think it's just a question of rewards. It's not. It's a question of the value we give first. And for Petrosol, it's a question of what kind of fuel you are buying. And we always say it's clean fuel. And we also don't just give you the fuel. We're also giving you in full quantity. Full quantity is our term of saying whatever it is you are paying, that's exactly what you are getting.
One of the winners, Bright Ofori, who took home a smart TV, made history as the first ever winner from the Pacific Filling Station, where he entered the Energizing Dreams promotion.
I'm feels like some as name no made here I'm made to fuel 5 million 6 million me ta kwa ka papa to the baby I have made me to fuel.
And that's how we wrap up the business segment on News 360. My name is Minu Afo. Stay with us. Sports News is up next with Oreku Ampofo.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. Former Black Princesses coach Yusuf Basigi has bemoaned the lack of education and that is stunting the growth of youth football in Ghana. The Black Princesses recently got knocked out of the group stages of the Under-20 World Cup for a 7th consecutive time. My colleague Akosia J has more in the following report.
The subject of the impact of educational levels on progress of women football remains a fascinating one. In women's sports, particularly football, education and schools have played a key role in not just talent development, but has become a determinant, sometimes, of future progress. One man is convinced Ghana is not handling the process well. Yusuf Basigi has coached at club level, youth level, and managed Ghana in 2 Under-20 FIFA Women's World Cup, so he understands the issues very well.
The problem is not about the coaching. The problem is about education of the players. The level of their education is very low. It's below average, honestly speaking. So their understanding of the modern trend of the game is a problem. We have pool of talents here, very talented players, but they don't have education. So now, this video analysis and other things have been introduced. They go to sit down and they don't even know what it is all about.
The national U20 team has qualified for the last 7 World Cups, but never made it out of the group. That has also not reflected much in Ghana's bid to be Women's World Cup or Olympic regulars. Basigi draws comparison with one of the powerhouses of women football. Japan have won 1 title and played 3 finals at the U20 level and are considered a major force at senior level. Basigi says observing them at close range in tournaments speaks to the value that education has brought in the progress of women football.
In Colombia, before breakfast, you will see the Japanese going for classes with their laptops and iPads. Every morning, even our girls saw them. And they were telling our girls, you will see what will happen to you when we meet you. They said, so psychologists say, oh, don't mind them. They are just called a bluff. You see, but I knew it was going to happen because they learn every day.
There's never a debate about the fact that women's football needs education at the heart of it to thrive. Basigi says that a project by the Ghana Football Association to build women's academies, including setting up one in Bolga, is a brilliant idea. But he also wants the association to become very particular about the players it selects with the youth national teams.
I would suggest that they should look at the criteria for this time for the selection should be based on education. Which level are you in the secondary school or JHS before you are invited?
Well, let's move on to some more stories where 4th seed Taylor Fritz says that he is going to from the LA wildfires.
I just want everyone to obviously stay safe. It's insane what happened, and I wanted to say something after my first round match, but I'm gonna be donating my first round prize money to LA wildfire relief funds, and it's really the least I can do. Southern California is my home, and LA is LA was my home for a very long time. So just doing what I can possibly do to help, and I would encourage anyone else that can donate to help too, because a lot of people really need the help.
Well, before we go, let's just remind you of the final fixtures for match day 21 in the English Premier League, where Ipswich Town and Brighton are nearing about 30 minutes, and that first half still goalless in that game. Later at 8 p.m, Manchester United will be hoping to build on their FA Cup third round win over Arsenal when they welcome Southampton. You can get updates of these games and more on our social media handles at 3SportsGH and then on 3 News 4S/Sports. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
Entertainment news segment is brought to you by Enapa Foods, Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil, powered by 3 Entertainment.
In entertainment news this evening, Ablajifa Gumashi, the Member of Parliament for Ketu South constituency, has been appointed as Minister Designate for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts by President John Dramani Mahama on January 16, 2025. Gumashi, a respected actress, film producer and scriptwriter, is also a prominent politician. She previously served as a Deputy Minister of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts under President Mahama from 2012 to 2016. She currently represents the NDC in Ketu South and holds the title of Queen Mother in the Aflao traditional area. She has a strong academic background, including a Master of Philosophy in African Studies from the University of Ghana, a first-class Honours Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University School of Performing Arts, and a Diploma in Theatre Arts. Gumashi is passionate about promoting arts, culture, and heritage. During her tenure as Deputy Minister, she contributed to key initiatives such as the review of the Ghana Culture Policy and the drafting of the Creative Arts Industry Bill. She continues to lend her expertise internationally, serving on the FEPACHI Committee and as a rapporteur for the ECOWAS Committee on the Reparation of Stolen African Artifacts. Meanwhile, some players in the showbiz industry have shared thoughts on her appointment, expressing the belief that with her extensive experience, she is well positioned to make a strong return to the ministry.
Honorable Jifa Gumashi has the experience. She has served as a deputy minister for the creative space before. So I believe that she's coming on with a lot of experience to expand the space. And one big thing that has happened to us was Beyond the Return initiative, and people have looked forward to having a minister who sits within the creative space to advance talks on our industry. And we must say that it's exciting news to have her as a substantive minister. No more excuses with people saying that, well, I was a deputy, so I wasn't calling the shots. This time, we have one of our own as a substantive minister. We hope to see progress from there. I believe Honorable Abna Gumashi has that personality to, rally us along, pull all of us along, regardless of your political party, so that we can have ideas and thoughts that can advance our sector. I believe she's the right woman for the job.
I want to see her champion most of the campaign promises the NDC made to the creative art, because there are a lot of these promises which, when implemented, will go a long way to benefit the creative art. How does she champion those things? And that is what I want to see, so that at the end of the day, there will not be excuses. I want to see those things done. And that notwithstanding too, I also want to see how she's going to champion or lead the creative sector and the tourism sector to be able to tap into the NDC's flagship 24-hour economy. Some aspect of the industry has already been running on a 24-hour economy. How do we enhance that practice by benefiting from the various policy initiatives, the kind of support the 24-hour economy will give?
Let's now go for some sports of international news.
A court in the Democratic Republic of Congo has sentenced 3 Chinese nationals to 7 years in prison for engaging in activities related to illegal mining. The court in Congo's eastern city of Bukavu, the capital of Congo's gold-rich South Kivu province, sentenced the men for the illegal purchase and possession of minerals, money laundering and other offences. The suspects were found in possession of $400,000 in cash cash and a substantial amount of gold on Sunday, raising concerns about the scale of their operations and the potential involvement of organized networks. The governor of South Kivu Province, Jean-Jacques Purusi, said people are tired of those who plunder the country's resources. In December, religious groups and civil society members in South Kivu's Mwenga territory took to the streets, voicing their concerns over the activities of Chinese mining companies. South Korea's arrested President Yoon Suk-yeol did not attend a second day of questioning by investigators on Thursday, further stonewalling a criminal probe into whether he committed insurrection with his bid to impose martial law.
Well, that's all for News 360. Thanks very much for watching. For more news, you can log on to our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Pa Kwesi Asari.
And I'm Aisha Yakubu Khalid. Have a good evening.